now. Well, hi, Kim Martinez. It's good to talk to you.
It's talk to
you are the volunteer coordinator for Friends of Northside. Friends of Northside, we got to the Houston Vineyard. We sort of became acquainted with you guys about 1.5 years ago and started figuring out ways we could work together. Kim, why don't you tell me a little bit about your role and a little bit about the history of Friends of Northside?
Yeah, of course. So as you mentioned, I'm the volunteer coordinator, and that's pretty much is what it is right in the title. I focus on getting lots of volunteers in the door and supporting all of our programming, all of our efforts in this time. It's really not programming so much as it is our COVID-19 response efforts. And I get partners through the door. I try to connect with churches. The volunteer coordinator is kind of the connector for both churches and for volunteers. And so that's a little bit about what I do. And as for what we're doing in the North Side right now, we have after school programs, we have adult education classes like GED classes and English classes, but we've had to cancel all of that and focus our efforts on meeting the basic needs of the North Side community following the COVID pandemic.
And like Friends of Northside, which is a part of the parent organization Attack Poverty, which has been doing stuff like actually all over and really good work. But Friends of Northside started, and correct me if I'm wrong, like immediately after Harvey.
Yes. So Friends of Northside, our location. Yeah.
Yeah. So that location sort of it opened, had its grand opening like right on the heels of Harvey, like a day after Harvey, essentially. Mm-hmm. And all this planning had gone in and strategy, and then all of a sudden Harvey hits and it changes completely what Friends of Northside does. Am I right on that?
Yeah, that's 100% correct. So we had after school programs, we had classes, different things that we had planned, and we were ready to do that Monday after Harvey, and then Harvey hit and that was scrapped, and it was like, okay, what do we do now? How do we meet the need right now?
And so you guys navigated Harvey and are still doing some post-Harvey work to this day, but you began to get back on track with after-school programs, and you're building in these programs and building relationships in the community to get trust and to be able to find out the greater needs. And all of a sudden, COVID-19 hit.
Yeah.
And so you're put in this position again where you have to shift. So what has the shift been since COVID-19 for you guys as far as ministry focus?
Yeah, so we have a few core values, and one of them is just meeting the basic needs of people, because we understand and realize that if we don't meet the basic needs of people, sometimes we can't even get that foot in the door to build relationship. And so what we kind of sat down on Monday, March 16th, I think, and we brainstormed and we were thinking, okay, what do we do? How can we meet the immediate needs right now? And we went back to our values and we said, hey, one of our core values is meeting basic needs. What does that look like in each community? And each community said, well, that could look like financial assistance, that could look like food assistance. And so we said, okay, let's do that. And we formed great partnerships that allow us and enable us to meet those needs at the moment. So what we're doing is we're partnering with Second Mile, and they are giving us these food bags that have been prepared with non-perishable items, and we distribute those out into the community.
And so you're seeing all of a sudden, like what might have been systemic needs or educational needs, really the focus becomes just the everyday sustenance, like food on the table needs. But you guys, there's only 2 of you in the office right now. Like there's 2 staff that are operating Friends of Northside. So how do you do all the work then? Like how do you manage to get all of this accomplished?
It's 100% volunteers. So we have always said at Attack Poverty that we are staff-led but volunteer-run. So we could not do absolutely anything without our volunteers. And I'm not just saying that as volunteer coordinator. I 100% believe that. And so we have had volunteers come in and they pretty much sign up and they know what they're doing, but they don't really know. And that's because what we do is we get people on a list, and these people have said, we need food. And to try to minimize contact as much as possible, we've decided to make deliveries. So our volunteers will get a route, and the starting route starts at our office and ends at their house, just so that it can be the smoothest possible route. And they go house to house, they make deliveries, And it sometimes varies house to house. Sometimes it's milk and eggs. Sometimes it's just non-perishable food items or diapers. It just depends on the individual needs of each family.
And you guys have had quite a few volunteers right now, but as people are starting to get back into their jobs and work and things they're figuring out, you're having a diminished number of volunteers. Is that right? So you guys are actually looking for more volunteers now than ever.
Yes, absolutely. So we have gone down in the very beginning, back in March, we were Monday through Friday, food distribution, go, go, go. And we've come down just a little bit just to be a bit more engaging, I suppose, and to really be able to pour in and still build a relationship with different families. And so we are still needing lots of volunteers Tuesdays and Thursdays, just because it's going to happen. Houston's reopening, restrictions are being lifted, and I understand people have to get back to work. But if we could continue to have them, we'd love them and appreciate them.
And really, you guys are also beginning to look at your programming that you've had to abandon. Part of it because there's nobody, we can't do it. Everybody's shelter in place essentially. But as you look at that, you're also looking to get those things sort of online. What does that process look like for you guys to get something that was very uniquely one-on-one and face-to-face online?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge. That's kind of what we're working through right now. So our normal programming runs on, we'll say, pretty much the school semester. So August through December, and then January through May. We do have some summer programs, but the bulk of our programming runs on the school semester. And it's a little weird because we also have to consider the fact that we do serve an underserved community, and some of these kids might not have technology. They may not have Wi-Fi access. So while we're having meetings and we're doing everything on Zoom, we're trying to navigate, okay, we have 5 students who can access our modified after school program through Zoom, and then we have 10 who can't. And so how do we navigate that? Do we get grants for technology, or do we get creative? We've had to brainstorm and think, what if we have one child sitting on their doorstep and a volunteer 6 feet away on a chair, and they're working together on any sort of summer school work that child might have? So we're trying our best. It's a little all over the place just because you're having to accommodate 2 very different groups, but we're trying our best to move online.
Yeah, I mean, and thankfully you guys are sort of like set up for this because since day one you've been adapting. You've been having to pivot since day one, which is challenging, but you sort of are built for times like this. And as you look at the north side, it is like all these other communities that we see, that there really is this division. There are people really isolating, and there's other people that are sort of like rallying and advocating, and we see all these things across the board. How are you guys navigating that with level of access? Like, how do you find the points of entry to really, because you guys have spent the last 2 years or so to build trust, and you really began to build that, and there is trust in the community that you're there for them and with them. So how do you begin to navigate these differences in opinions of people saying, hey, like I don't even want to talk to anybody, I'm not opening my door, and the other people that are just like, hey, we got to get back into life and advocating, for essentially restarting life up. How are you guys negotiating that tension?
We've gotten really creative. So we have a program called Community Listening, where we will actually go out into the community and we ask questions to get to learn how that individual person views and would like to see their community grow. And we have had to modify that naturally. So we send a survey out with each bag of food that someone will request, and that will say, how can we pray for you? Would you be interested in someone calling you just to talk, just to have some community, just to have someone who is there for you? Because right now we kind of can't be together. And that has enabled us to meet neighbors, which is ultimately just amazing. So we reached out to one person and we really started to pour into her. We connected with her. We built a relationship with her. And then all of a sudden she said, hey, my neighbor, I think, could also use some food. Would it be okay if we connected with them too? And that just started to grow and expand and kind of just butterfly effect a little bit. And so it's been a slow process, but that, I think, being able to meet that very basic need and having the community know, oh, these people care about me to even meet my need for toilet paper, for food, for shampoo, I can trust them because they care about me. And that's opened so many doors.
Yeah, so I think just the posture, which I love about Friends of Northside, the posture of like, we're here to serve, but first we want to hear what's going on. It really does break down those tensions between the differing points of view, and it allows you really to be present and honoring and hospitable to anybody on the spectrum, and also really effective in identifying sort of precise moments of intervention or care that can bring out like long-term results. So it's amazing. And I love that you guys are sort of like really focusing, you're really preparing yourselves and you're setting yourselves up for a long-term impact in the community. You're not burning yourself out by doing, 7 days a week right now, knowing that this is going to be a longer journey. But you do have Tuesdays and Thursdays where you're looking for volunteers. When we were talking earlier, I love what you said about small groups together volunteering. How would that work? Like, let's say a small group from the Houston Vineyard would say, we want to get together, but we don't want to be in somebody's home and it's too hot to be outside, but we want to be doing something meaningful. How would it look like for a small group to volunteer with the Friends of Northside, let's say on a Tuesday or a Thursday?
Yeah, so we've had two different types of small groups really get involved in that way. And one way is a small group will say, okay, we know that they need non-perishable food items, so let's gather together and let's just all go to our individual HEB. We'll buy a few cans of food, we'll buy some, I don't know, crackers, chips, different things that they think the families might appreciate, and then they come drop it off at our office. And from our experience with the small groups that we've had, they've gone and they've almost raided Costco. And Costco, that's buying in bulk, so that's a ton.
Yeah.
And then we've had the other group of people where they are a small group, of course, and there's not as many people, but oftentimes they will be there with their partners. So whether that's their wife, their husband, their girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever it is. And how we do deliveries on Tuesdays and Thursdays is we pair up people unless they feel comfortable going by themselves, and they go and make deliveries based off of a route. And so we give them, we'll say 5 bags, and each of those 5 bags is assigned to one family. And their first stop might be at Jane Doe's house, and so they can go knock on the door. It's pretty much Amazon style. And they knock on the door, they leave the package, and then they head back to their car and give them a call. And that's just to make sure it's contactless, not just for the residents, but also for the volunteers, because we want to make sure that both are safe and healthy.
Yeah, so I mean, as we talk about partnership and we're continuing to have conversations of how we as the Houston Vineyard can partner with the Friends of Northside, this is a great opportunity to do it through volunteering. And I really do love the concept of a small group being able to do something that's very meaningful, that is for the community, but still allows us to be connected while honoring the social distancing recommendations and keeping themselves and others safe. So if let's say we wanted a small group says, hey, we want to do that, how do they get in touch with you? Like, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys? And if somebody says, hey, I have this, I feel like I really want to partner with the Friends of Northside, how do they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, so the quickest way is, honestly, thankfully you have a volunteer coordinator here. You can just shoot me an email, and that is Kim, Kim, @attackpoverty.org. Or you can visit our website, friendsofnorthside.com, and that will reroute you to a page that gives you a little more information about who we are, what we do, where exactly we are, because some people hear the North Side and they have no clue where that is.
Yeah.
And so that kind of will give you our exact geographical location of we serve this area. And that's the best way, I would think, to just find a way to get more information.
Well, awesome. So I'll make sure that information is in the link of these videos. Kim, thank you so much. We're really grateful and honored that we get to partner with you. And we look forward to seeing how God will use you guys in the North Side and how we can be a part of that with you. So,
of course, thank you so much.
You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.